Welcome to the Explainer. Jump right in. Picture this. It's 8:03 a.m. The outpatient department is absolutely buzzing. Patients are piling in, nurses are hustling, doctors are at their desks, totally ready to go. But everything's stalled. A doctor is just staring at the door. Why? Because one single paper medical record hasn't shown up yet. The front desk is scrambling, shuffling papers, the clock is ticking. It seems like a tiny administrative hiccup, right? But for you, hospital board members and financial executives, this exact scenario is the symptom of a massive systemic problem. Today, we're diving into the source material to unpack the hidden constraints of paper documentation and how it's acting as an invisible bottleneck, literally choking your hospital's growth. Let's get right into it.
And that brings us to the ultimate executive dilemma. As financial leaders, you're looking at your numbers and your patient volume is climbing year over year. Your facilities are expanding, your staff is working harder than ever. But cash flow? It's incredibly tight. Revenue growth is just lagging way behind operational volume. You kind of have to stop and ask yourself, our patients are increasing, so where is the money? Well, the source analysis makes it clear. The answer usually isn't about market demand or pricing. It's about process friction. Those delayed paper files at 8:03 a.m., they aren't just annoying. They are actively, physically delaying your revenue cycle and stopping you from scaling efficiently. So here's our roadmap for today. 1. The invisible growth anchor. 2. Revenue leaks and hidden costs. 3. Patient experience and reputation. 4. Clinical risks and burnout. 5. The executive blind spot. And 6. Rethinking scalability. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the invisible growth anchor, workflow bottlenecks and friction. Okay, let's break this down step by step. Just look at a typical patient journey: registration, outpatient, pharmacy, billing, and finally claims. In a paper-based setup, a physical file literally has to be walked to every single one of those checkpoints. Data taken at registration? Yeah, someone is manually re-entering or double-checking that at billing. Honestly, every single time a paper chart changes hands, the whole workflow takes a hit. It's this cumulative delay that completely throttles your patient throughput. It's basically a hard cap on your hospital's operational capacity.
To really grasp the human toll here, the source introduces something called friction mapping. Essentially, this is figuring out exactly where manual handoffs and redundant data entry are just eating up your staff's energy. And wow, does this explain why your teams are so exhausted? When your doctors and nurses are forced to play detective, tracking down lost files, trying to decipher messy handwriting, or rewriting histories from scratch, it robs them of the time they should actually be spending on patient care. This endless, repetitive manual filing creates a vicious daily burnout cycle. It crushes morale and practically ruins any chance for meaningful workforce development. Moving on to Section 2, revenue leaks and hidden costs, the financial hemorrhage. Now, for the board, this is the exact moment paper goes from being a slow annoyance to a very real financial threat. Services are being provided, but the cash isn't coming in. Why? Well, it's the missing signatures. It's the blank fields, lost charge documents, unreadable handwriting, incomplete discharge summaries. These manual errors are silent revenue leaks. Get this. Industry averages from the source show that up to 3 to 5% of net patient revenue is just gone, completely lost due to drop charges from incomplete paper trails. A medication is given, a procedure is done, but because the physical paper trail is broken or someone can't read the handwriting, billing is massively delayed or just abandoned altogether. And that culminates in a massive financial hemorrhage. Paper workflows directly drive higher claim rejections, way slower submissions, and a huge spike in management costs. Imagine a growing stack of 100 submitted claims. The data shows that because of manual errors, nearly 20 of those could be rejected right off the bat. Think about that for a second. You are literally paying your staff to do the work, and then paying them again to chase down the paperwork so you can get reimbursed for the work they already did. It's absolutely destroying your margins. Plus, we have to talk about the hidden operational expenses. Sticking to paper means manual chart retrieval costs just skyrocket as you try to scale. You're pouring money into physical warehouse space, endless rows of filing cabinets, climate control, and no joke, a small army of personnel whose only job is to retrieve, transport, and track folders. To put it in perspective, hospitals can easily spend $20 to $30 just to manually pull and refile one single complex chart. As you try to grow the hospital, these non-clinical, totally non-revenue generating expenses just eat up more and more of your budget. All right, Section 3, patient experience and reputation, the collateral damage. So, as executives, you're investing heavily in marketing, gorgeous facilities, the whole brand image, right? The marketing promises world class, seamless care. But let's contrast that with the actual patient reality: repeated questions, missing files, and agonizingly long waits. Now, your patients might not know a thing about medical coding or chart retrieval, but they absolutely feel the friction of your system firsthand. What does that friction actually look like to them? Well, it looks like a patient having to recite their exact same medical history at 4 different desks. It looks like waiting hours for lab results that are just chilling on a clipboard somewhere. This fragmented continuity of care totally degrades the patient experience. And in today's world, that frustration instantly turns into negative Google reviews and angry social media posts. So, paper-based delays aren't just some back-office operational issue. They are actively eroding public trust, destroying patient loyalty, and tanking your hospital's brand reputation.
Section 4, Clinical Risks and Burnout. When information doesn't arrive.
Let's look at the actual clinical risks. Unreadable medication orders, crucial allergy notes buried on page 87 of a physical chart, duplicate blood tests being ordered just because the previous lab sheet got lost in transit. Look, when clinicians have to make decisions without complete on-time information, the risk of diagnostic delays and medication errors quietly goes through the roof. And this is unbelievably stressful for your medical staff. They're already under immense pressure. Forcing them to rely on fragmented paper records actively limits their ability to deliver safe care, and it just accelerates that daily burnout cycle we talked about.
That brings us to Section 5, the executive blind spot, managing in the dark.
Here is the core scalability problem visualized. As your patient volume grows linearly, your manual paper workload and your operational complexity spike exponentially. You inevitably hit a wall where human effort just cannot compensate for a failing system anymore. So what happens? You hire more staff just to manage the paper, but your overall efficiency actually drops. Paper records literally act as an anchor that prevents your hospital from scaling efficiently. And because of all this operational chaos, your vital data is completely siloed. It's locked away in cardboard storage boxes, scribbled on sticky notes, buried in departmental logbooks, or manually typed into disconnected spreadsheets. As a financial executive, you just cannot get an accurate, real-time picture of your hospital's performance. Manual documentation completely obscures your financial reporting, creating these massive, dangerous blind spots for your board.
So, I really have to ask, are you making strategic decisions based on real data or just intuition? If your data takes weeks to compile by hand, you can't identify exactly where your revenue is leaking. You can't see which service lines are actually profitable and which ones are just draining your resources. You simply cannot confidently steer the long-term financial health of your organization when you're managing in the dark.
Finally, Section 6, Rethinking Hospital Scalability. The resolution. The source material delivers a really stark ultimatum here. Healthcare growth needs information that moves faster than paper. You simply cannot compete in modern healthcare, you cannot maximize your revenue potential, and you definitely cannot protect your reputation if your hospital's speed limit is determined by how fast a human being can physically walk a manila folder down a hallway. Which leaves you, the leadership, with one absolutely vital question to ponder as you plan for the future. Are we scaling our growth, or are we just surviving our paper? The financial health and the long-term survival of your hospital completely depend on how you answer that. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking those tough questions, and I'll catch you in the next one.